love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break.
Welcome everybody to ChopStation. Listen, for those of y'all that have been here before, we welcome you back. For those of y'all that are here the first time, we thank you. ChopStation is a platform of love, knowledge, wisdom, and building. We come to you on Thursdays. Always check out the flyer to see what guests we're going to have coming in today. And that particular day, we want to make sure we push somebody. Give a shout out to Resist Books too. Resist Books, that's in Petersburg, Virginia, off of Sycamore Street. Make sure that you go visit them and check their bookstore out. Wonderful Black-owned bookstore in the smaller community, trying to establish a literacy and help people learn to read and open up things. So please make sure you go visit them. Also, if you haven't checked out any of the other versions of the podcast, I would say, or other episodes of it, then make sure to check us out. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're on YouTube, and we're broadcasting YouTube live right now. Today, we have the wonderful CEO and founder of Level Next, Patyence Green. I've known Patyence for a while. And I said, hey, I asked her, I said, hey, can you mind coming on the show? Because like I told you all before, this month and next month are Women's Empowerment Month. So I want to make sure that I give women the opportunity and the platforms that they're sometimes denied and sometimes don't have access to share knowledge about their organizations and the differences that they are making. So I wanted to ask Patyence to come on today. So Patyence, before we get started, right? We've cleared out all the introductions and all that, and this is ChopStation, so you can be live, real, anybody that's watching, anybody that knows us knows ChopStation is just down to earth. So I wanted to get started, and in getting started, I wanted you to just tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, thank you, Marvin, and I'm really excited and happy for the invitation to really share with the ChopStation family this evening. Again, my name, for those of you who don't know me, is Patyence Green, and I am the founder and chief visionary officer of Level Next LLC. I grew up in a small town, Smithfield, Virginia. So shout out to all the Hamtown folks down there. And that's where I was born and raised, still have family, friends there. Moved to Richmond in 2014, been here since that time. And I have two young adults. I still call them my children, but two young adults, a rising junior at George Mason University and a freshman. My youngest is at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina. So, I enjoy what I do. I work full-time as a leader at a utility company where I manage technology and workforce and analytics. I'm also an adjunct faculty member at Southern New Hampshire University in Manchester, New Hampshire, where I instruct undergraduate courses in business. And then lastly, I'm a founding member and former executive vice president of the Elsie Morrow Legacy Foundation, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that supports students who are pursuing degrees in education.
So you just touched on something. You said the teaching part. As a former teacher, right? And I didn't get to the level that you're at as far as the age range, I should say. But as a former teacher of 4 years, how was that experience affect you in your normal day-to-day life? Like, how does, seeing people that are trying to, I guess, strive to get to a point affect you on your day-to-day?
I really enjoy instructing at Southern New Hampshire. I've come across multiple people who have a myriad of backgrounds, skill sets, ambitions, and I take pride in the opportunity to just pour a little bit of what I know back into them. Um, I'm meeting folks who have returned to school for the first time in like 20 years. I'm also instructing students who have recently graduated. So I get a various range and a wide range of people in my classroom, and I learn from them just as much as I hope that they learn from me.
Okay, okay. That sounds. It sound. I was going. I was being that I'm from the Franklin, Virginia, right? Let's make sure we put that out there. When you said Smithfield,
It's a little
it was
smaller
it
than
was, it was
Smithfield,
a
right?
little cringe for a second because it's not Franklin. It's close. You nice by association. Um, but I see what you're saying, and that was kind of my experience. When I was actually teaching for a while, it was the ability to reach out and just see the enthusiasm of somebody that's trying to aspire to something. Sometimes when as you get older, you kind of like almost feel like you've arrived or you're there, you're in a steady state, your career is day to day. And a lot of times some people lose that fire, but it's always interesting because kids are pushing. It's always something new. Young adults in college, it's always something new with them because they haven't got to that level. So that was very interesting.
Yeah.
Now we're gonna get down to the business, right? um in the first part of the show, I just wanted to ask you, like, so what is Level Next LLC? Let me make sure I put the LLC out there, right? I want to make sure the Better Business Bureau hear that, right? LLC.
So level next is my baby, if you will. This organization was birthed and transformed, from a just a mere thought to a defined plan in 2018. And we were in a period of shutting down and thinking and um, being secluded. So this gave me an opportunity to really hone into my passion and figuring out how to make it work effectively, legally, and share what I can with the masses, if you will. It's a mentoring and empowerment organization that strives to encourage young girls and women across the world, across the country, and my local city. There are no limits to where we can go. And the goal is really to just empower others to embrace their destiny, despite how their story began. And the goal is to provide mentoring, career coaching, women's empowerment sessions to all who aspire to embrace that next level of what they desire.
Okay, so you fit right into my next question, right? So my next question was, you mentioned that this happened when we're in the process of shutting down and whatnot. So I know a lot of times, especially during the pandemic, when all of us were pretty much at home, you really can't go anywhere. There's no movies, mall, events, those type of things, right? So Level Next, like, that's a distinct name. That's a name that just, it's unique. So what made you name it Level Next?
I think we often hear, next level, and that's kind of standard. And one thing that I try to not be is standard. And when you think about moves that you want to make, typically, if you want to grow and if you want to aspire to be something, to do something, to grow something, you don't make lateral moves. You make moves to the next level. And I just decided to twist that a little bit and birth level next. Kind of a play on words, but it's catchy, and it causes others to really consider and think about what that next level of aspiration, career trajectory, whatever that next goal or opportunity is.
Okay, so with Level Next, where are you based currently?
Currently in Richmond, Virginia. But of course, the World Wide Web causes us to reach multiple platforms. So I am based out of Richmond, Virginia. but certainly seeking opportunities to expand and grow wherever we can.
Okay, we definitely gonna speak. We're gonna speak growth and expansion on you. You
Yes.
definitely deserve
Yes.
that. Um, I saw, you mentioned that you work for a utility company and all those other type things. How does your day-to-day job, how does that influence what you see with the different people you work with, as far as part of Level Next?
I don't, of course, I don't have the opportunity to merge my organization with what I do day to day. And sometimes my day to day prevents me from fulfilling my passion. And, I've had folks that reach out and they're like, what's going on with the organization? I haven't heard you doing anything. I haven't seen any flyers. I haven't been able to sign up for any sessions. And that's when I know that what I'm doing is impactful. So my day to day does prevent some of the programming. However, I am able to spill over a little bit into those that I interact with on a day to day basis as well. So, my team, I try to encourage them. I try to offer, career suggestions. If there's a resume that I need to review, I try to look for opportunities to do that because that's what I do as a part of my organization. So, where there are opportunities that present themselves, I try to fulfill those where I can.
Okay, now I'm looking at and for all the audience, if you see me looking to the left, it's because I have this beautiful website for Level Next right next to me. I'm looking at it, and there's a lot of I encourage. Let me while we're doing this, let me go ahead on and put this back up on the screen so that everybody can see it. This is the actual website address here, www.levelnext.org. Make sure you go visit the page and see what services they offer and read more about Patience herself and the different things that she's been able to accomplish. I'm looking at it and it's very impressive, top ladies of distinction. Tell me about that. Like how did that make you feel?
So, Top Ladies of Distinction is a service organization. It is not a sorority, but we do a lot in the community. And that is something that is very passionate to me. So, I learned of the organization when I moved to the Richmond area. Um, and my kids were invited to join Top Teens of America. And Top Teens of America is the number one program thrust of Top Ladies of Distinction. So we focus on youth, senior citizens, and women in the community. So being a part of that organization has, taught me a lot in leadership, in networking, in managing our website, which was a position that was kind of voluntold to me. So I'm able to leverage my technology skills and make sure that our platform is visible and it's functional for any future top ladies. So I've been extremely proud and honored to be a part of the organization for about a year and a half now.
Okay, okay. And I saw on your website, see, a lot of times what people don't understand is if you have a business and you have an organization, that your website or the information that you put out a lot of times can tell a lot about you. So I saw on the website and I'm looking at it right now where it says feed more. And I remember my very first experience with Feed More. For those that you all that are not familiar with that, that's where you would go and you would fix meals for the homeless or people that may need meals in underprivileged or underserved communities. And I remember, like I said, my first experience was it was heartfelt, but it was also amazing in an extent that you see how much work and how much effort goes into preparing the meals. I think I got that day specifically, I got stuck on like biscuits or something like that, and we were doing biscuits for like 4 hours, and it's just an experience. Tell me a little bit more about your Feed More experience and community work.
So I really enjoy working or volunteering at Feed More, and I've done it as a part of some employee programs at my full time job. Um, this particular day, we were responsible for packing lunches for students. So they have several programs where they support like after school meals for local students. And when you think about, children who go home and they don't have snacks or they don't have lunch or they don't have dinner, knowing that just the few hours that you put aside to help with this organization is helping another family, is helping another child. That's rewarding in itself. And I am honored and proud to volunteer. I take pride in it. I enjoy doing it. And I look for every opportunity I can, not just at Feed More, with the YWCA, with AARG. Those are some company organizations and membership groups that we have, and then any other opportunity that I can in the community.
You know, you hit a nerve there, right? When you were talking about the impact and things like that it makes. I know for me, in my years of coaching, that was one of the main things is, we realized a lot of times that a lot of the kids wouldn't eat until they came to practice, or if we had a game, they would not eat until we actually fed them food. And for whatever the circumstance was, we're not here to, say what is right and what is wrong, but we're just discussing the impact, and the impact to be able to see them today, when I still see them and see the change in their life and see who they have become as men. And I'm sure with you, the ladies that you see that you've talked to in the past and you've seen them grow, that's what makes me smile. It's not, they don't have to be a millionaire. They don't have to be any of that. They're just productive humans that are trying to live life the right way. And that means so much when you see them. So I definitely can see where you're coming from on that. There's one other thing I want to get to before we go to break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to really dive into Level Next and some of the other programs. I saw on the website, I'm looking now, I want to make sure I read this right. Executive Vice President of the Marrow Legacy Foundation. Tell me about that. That's a position. When you become the executive vice president of something, that's a lot of responsibility. Tell me about that, and then specifically what that position taught you when it comes to Level Next.
So Elsie Marrow was my older cousin. And you know how you have the older cousin that is the older cousin, but everybody loves to go to their home and they enjoy being around them. And she just really poured a lot of jewels into me and some of my younger cousins as well. And we thought that it would be appropriate to honor her in a way that we could give back to others pursuing education, degrees in education. She was a school teacher as well. And she really took pride in what she did. So that was our way to kind of honor her legacy. And my role as executive vice president was just really to support the organization. But it also taught me, the legalese about building an organization and what you had to do and go through the forms and, contact the state corporation commission and making sure that you have your resident agent. And those things helped me to kind of build Level Next with the experience that I gained from being a part of the legacy of Elsie Marrow Foundation. So it was indeed my honor and privilege to serve on that board.
Listen, that is, you deserve your flowers for that. I'm just going to put it like that. You get flowers for that. She sounds wonderful. From everything you just said, she sounds wonderful. So that's a big, and to do that in the legacy of someone and actually name it the Legacy Foundation carries a lot of burden, a lot of weight, because you want to measure up to what they stood for. So I definitely, that is amazing. That is awesome. Look, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a 1:30 break. We're going to come right back and get right back into it. And we're going to talk about some other questions that I have for you dealing with Level Next, whatnot. So listen, get you something to drink, get you some water, get you some snacks or something, but you got it 1:30. We'll be right back. Okay. We're back. We're back. So now we're going to go in and we're going to dive into this a little bit more. So let's get into these services that Level Next provides. And I got my notes here because I want to make sure, I asked this the right way, right? Because I'm not going to put it like this. I'm not going to do them in the traditional order because as I was looking through the services, yes, I did my research. As I was looking through the services, I said, okay, all of this makes sense to me, but I want to present it to you in this way. So let's talk about the women's empowerment. Tell me about that service. Let's just focus on that one particular, the ins and outs about that one.
So I think when we talk about women's empowerment, we traditionally look at sessions where, women come together and it's this team building or it's this networking session or, might have a little lunch. Um, but this is sort of a non-traditional way to bring others together who maybe share the same story
Okay.
um, in a different and unique way. So in 2020, we hosted our inaugural event called um, now my brain is blanking out after a long day of work. Um, Forgive me. That's horrible.
We can come back to it. Keep on. It's all good.
That's
Look, it's
horrible.
early Friday.
It,
Okay. We
it,
all understand it's early Friday.
but we invited a panel of women who not your ideal path. That was the name of it. Not your ideal path. And the purpose of that was to bring women together who may not have fit the ideal image of what the women's path should be. So you go to school, you graduate high school, you go to college, you get married, you have your kids, you find your job, or maybe in the reverse order a little bit. But this was a group of women who represented all facets of life. Some maybe not, they didn't grow up with a father. Some may have had a child when they were young or out of wedlock. Others went back to school later in life. And the goal was to show young girls that you don't have to fit society's definition of what a woman or what your path or what your story should be. Your story is your story. And not your ideal path was our first event. And it was such a success. And we had women from, young girls in high school to older women on. And it was truly an emotional and impactful and an insightful event where we were able to share and be real and be transparent with the entire audience, and that was extremely beneficial, and I was extremely proud for that to be our first event.
Uh, What you just said is you hit on something as you were talking. You said it was real. A lot of times that I'll say the fake American dream, the white picket fence, the dog, the house, realistically, I would probably guess to say that that's not even a 50% of how life really happens, right? So I think that's amazing because you deal with I also at one point coached girls basketball. So in coaching girls basketball and dealing with the young ladies that I had, and also adding that along with teaching, you got a chance to see that how delicate that the young ladies can be, right? Guys are delicate too, a little bit tougher here and there, but the ladies are truly like jewels. So you really had to treat them like jewels or get them to see themselves as jewels
Yeah.
based off of the backgrounds that they came from, the things that they were involved in, or those type of things. You get them to see themselves as jewels so that they'll when they come to the level that we're talking about now, that they're different. So definitely I love that women's empowerment thing. I think it's I have a question. and it'll be something that we'll discuss, which is, you know, when we talk about women empowerment, and I'm a male, a lot of males get scared, they get nervous, they get, well, you know, a different kind of way. I think that it has to be fair. It's not about race. It shouldn't be about race, sexuality, your gender or anything like that. It's just the best fit, right? And a lot of things. A lot of people don't see it that way. So I'm very glad, and that's why I really wanted to push this women's empowerment, because I think we have a lot of hidden jewels out here in the community, a lot of hidden jewels within corporate America, within different organizations. And I'm a firm believer that what God has for you, you're going to have anyway. So it doesn't matter if 15 other people get it. If it's for me, I'm still going to find, it's still going to be a way made for me to be able to get it too.
Just one.
So I definitely appreciate that. And you talked about, like, so give us an example of, because that wasn't a session, that was like a gathering and a meeting, like, without getting too personal into some of the stories and things like that, like what was one thing that stood out about that women's empowerment part, that just, you know, one thing that you heard that just blew your mind or made you go, wow, I love this.
There were so many just jewels dropped on that day. It's hard to pick one, but what stood out to me the most was at the end of the session, we had two young girls who, came off mute, and they were just very transparent in sharing like their story and how they felt um belittled, and just they didn't feel like they were really a part of society in the way that people were expecting them to be. And I think by being invited to that session, and they were invited through another volunteer program that I'm a part of, it really allowed them to see what they could be and what they could do. And I think some of the doubt that they had prior to that session was removed after hearing the stories from some of the women that they were able to share and glean from on that day. So I think that was the one thing that I can say that I can speak to that really impacted me, and that I think really was the most value from that session.
That's amazing. I've often watch a lot of different movies in different settings and different time frames and different eras of time, and different locations, you know, across the world where the movies come from and what they depict. And I think in saying what you just talked about, you a lot of times it's encouragement, right? It's encouragement and affirmation.
Mhm.
It's that, it's a constant affirmation of, hey, you're not where you want to be, but that doesn't mean you're going to get there. You're not going to get there, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to be the person that you desire to be or have that career you desire to have. Sometimes things take a little bit longer than others, but don't get discouraged. You know, it's still there. So I love to see what you're doing with that part of women's empowerment.
And I've also heard that, we often think this path to success is just straight.
So
Um, it's not, and that was the reason for the title of that session, Not Your Ideal Path. Sometimes it's lateral, sometimes you're staggered, but the end goal is whatever you're destined for, it will be achieved if you keep moving forward.
definitely. And one thing I want to share with the audience, and this was a powerful lesson that was taught to me, and l- recently in the last couple of years within my own personal career, it was, you never want to chase the job. You want the job to chase you. Meaning that you want to be so good, or you want to do so well at your job and strive to do so well at your current job, that your next job seeks you out. See, that puts you in a different, if you look at it, that puts you in a different negotiating point. That puts you in a different plane, because your reputation has preceded you of what you're able to do. So, again, and like you said, sometimes even in that next move, it may be lateral, but you're learning something new, another skill set that can push you to a different level. So That's always a good thing too.
Yeah.
Um, right there, I wanted to ask too, do you have a lot of men that bring their daughters to you to enter, like single fathers, I would say, because I know that's a little bit more common now than it was back in the past. But do you have a lot of single fathers or even single mothers that just bring their kids to you, or the young ladies to you or whatnot, and want to be involved?
I did. One of the young ladies that I work with, she lived in a two parent. Well, it started out as a two parent household, and then her parents separated, and her dad was her primary caregiver. And it was so valuable to see the transition in her from when I first met her until we had talked and we met and we she went through the mentoring program, and just to see the transition in her. She was shy, and we had a lot in common because despite what people think, I don't like this. um and Marvin is certainly getting me out of my element in this respect, but we connected on so many levels, and she was to see the growth in her. I was just tremendously impressed. So
Okay.
yeah,
Well, listen.
all types of young girls.
You're handling this like like a pro. Like a look. I might see you on CNN or something down in the future, and see you started right here on Chop Station. You mastered the art, right? Um, I want to move into career coaching. So as you see, I left the mentor. I then started mentoring, right? So I want to go to career coaching. So like, so tell us about the career coaching. Like, I know you mentioned resumes earlier and looking at resumes, but dive into the career coaching part that you do.
So, in addition to reviewing resumes, which is a very critical part of obtaining a job or position or a career, um, you also have to add other layers to that, right? It's not just your resume, how well you speak in an interview, how you show up, what questions you ask in that interview are also extremely valuable in obtaining a job. So, but even backing up a little bit from that, we often seek jobs as you mentioned a few minutes ago, but I don't think we often align our passion and our purpose with the job that we aspire to obtain.
It's about that
And
money.
yeah,
Yeah.
but money isn't everything, right? If you're not being fulfilled, whether it's your full time or anything else, you're not going to be happy. So a part of what I like to do is really dive into what do you want to do? What makes you feel good? Um, my daughter, for example, she aspires to be an entrepreneur, and her goal was, I want to own my own salon suites all over the world. And how do we get her there? But how do we find out that that was her passion? Because she aspires to grow and help others and provide services for others that will make them feel happy. So, figuring out what your purpose is, what that thing is that you would do without compensation. And part of the career coaching is to really dive into those objectives and those goals, and figuring out what is it that will truly make you happy, not just what you'll get a paycheck for, but where you'll be fulfilled.
And it's amazing because we said, a lot of times people do make moves about around the money. But now recently I've been seeing a lot of polls, and I've seen a lot of my friends even put it up as well. And they talk about, if somebody was just, we'll just throw numbers out here, for people just to get it. If somebody was to offer you, let's just say they offered you 70,000, right? And you can work from home, or you can get 85,000, but you got to go into the office, you know, 4 days a week. Which one would you do? Surprisingly, now everybody is predominantly saying 70,000. I think COVID and the change, COVID changed the world, and it's almost feels like it's a permanent change because the mindset shift you had, they talk about a habit takes 6 weeks to break, right? But it also takes 6 weeks for you to learn it. So it's like we had 2 years almost of learned behavior of, nah, I don't got to leave my house. I can do it. Like I can do it from home. So I
And
think,
PJs and slippers.
yeah, yeah, every your interviews, you dress from the neck up. That's all you need to, and if you got to show camera, you do. But I think the world has kind of got into that phase. And with technology is good, but technology can be bad too, because it stops a lot of the it's almost like people that go to church, right? The Bible says don't forsake the gathering, right? Well, you're not really truly you're gathering through Zoom, but that's not really what it meant, right? So it's the same thing with the workforce and people, it's just it's changed so much. And I wonder how much further it's going to change because realistically, the younger generation that is coming up, that's not for us, it was an option. It was you had to, you kind of got to get your way. For the younger generation that's coming up, now that's a standard. Like, oh, I can't work from home. I don't want to work here. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your name on the company is, how long you've been around. I can't work from home. Now I'm gonna go find somewhere I can work from home. And I think that has influenced a lot of your companies like your Amazons and, here locally within our area, like your major Capital One credit card people like that, because that workforce that they hire is the younger workforce. So I'm glad to see that in your career coaching, you're looking at not just money, but you're looking at passion and you're looking at, the desire. Where do they want to end up? They might not want to end up in Richmond. They might want to end up in Hawaii. So how do we get to Hawaii? What takes you to Hawaii? Those type of things. So I definitely, that's something that's really amazing and awesome. And you spoke on resumes. There's so many people that just don't understand the art to the resume, of having your resume speak to the job that you're applying for. It's great to have a standard one, but have one that speaks to that job, And I'm sure, I'm hitting on some of your tips and your hints right now. The words in the job description. Make sure you got those words in the job description in your resume. Especially if you're doing like military stuff, because they will kick that resume out before you even blink your eyes because it didn't touch nothing, right? But in your career, how far do you lastly, I want to ask you this question before we go to our last break, and then we're going to hit on the last part of Level Next. In your coaching, how far do you follow them in their career as far as they want to continue to go with you, or is there a cutoff?
Yeah, no cutoff. If there's an initial session, consultation, we talk about the scope, talk about the objectives, where do you want to go? What's your passion? What's the goal? But it doesn't have to stop there. I had a session, and I know you talked about reversing the order of the programs or services, but there have been sessions where they all kind of fell into the same session. The goal was the career, but we ended up in a empowerment discussion, and it went back to, I think that's what I want to do with my full time. I think that's what I want to do with my day to day. And I think it unlocked another level of discovery and of passion. And although they are outlined separately, sometimes they spill over into each other. So we'll go with you as long as you want to be with the Level Next organization. So it doesn't have to be one-stop shop.
Gotcha. Well, listen, everybody, we're going to take a quick 30-second break. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to run to the bathroom in 30 seconds, but you might be able to get you something to drink real quick from the refrigerator and get back. So give us 30 seconds. We'll be right back with the last part of the show. Be bold. Be unique. Shop Jax. Be exclusive. Be one of a kind. Shop Jax. Be yourself. Be different. Shop Jax. Not the same that you're going to see everywhere else. Shop Jax. JaxFlyWorld.com. So we're back. In the last part of the show, I want to get into the mentoring, right? But I saved the mentoring last because as I was researching and I was looking into the different programs that you offer, it was one of those things where I was like, all of this is mentoring. Like mentoring is the, how did I write it down? It's like the heartbeat to all three of these. So you have the women's empowerment, which is a form of mentoring. You have the coaching, which is a form of mentoring, and then you just have the mentoring piece of this. So tell me about the mentoring part, and what that means, and how does, tell me about how that makes you feel. You know what I mean when you get an opportunity to mentor someone.
It's certainly one of my greatest joys, outside of, my children and my family, my friends. But being able to pour back into someone who is aspiring to do something, to be something, to grow, and the fact that they just reach out to say, can you just listen, or can you just share your experience? Can you give me some advice? And it's not that I have the answers, um, that I've done the right things, checked the right boxes, but just sharing my experience based on the journeys that I've traveled. I, whether it's good, bad, right, wrong, planned, or unexpected, it's what we go through that help to shape who we are. And if who we are can help someone else, either prevent them from doing something bad, then I feel like we have a obligation to share. And mentoring in the general sense kind of sounds like, I'm sharing with you things that you should and should not do. No, it's not coming at it from that perspective, but it is sharing those experiences, giving back, allowing the opportunity to glean from, and also allowing to have that person's experience help me and to grow me for my next opportunity. I feel like information is interchangeable. If you're learning from or listening to someone, it's not always that person pouring into you. You should be able to be learning from the individual that you're, speaking with as well.
With mentoring, I think a lot of that too, and it's amazing to me that the key to that is I'm happy, and I get happy when somebody yields themselves to be mentored too, right? Because there's the mentor and there's the mentee. And when you really want to have a mentor, then you, as the mentee, you have to submit yourself to the mentor, the mentor being able to tell you, some things about life and share things, and you accept them. A lot of times when you're young, you think you know everything. I know it, I got it, I got all 2,000 answers, right? But you realize everyone, no matter how old you are, you still need a mentor that can, even if it's somebody you can talk to or vent to, or because they can help you see where you're wrong, right? They can help you see things in a different perspective. A good mentor is unbiased. So when you did good, they're going to do, give you the praise. When you did bad, they're going to lift you up and encourage you, and kind of get you off of that path from where you were. So I'm glad to definitely see that you are, into that, the mentoring part of it. And I'm looking at your, the website, right? So I saw a couple of different testimonials on the website. So I wanted to give you guys, I'm going to read one of these testimonials that's up here as we talk about the changes and things that have happened. Um, it's some will say things happen by chance, but I'm a firm believer that things happen for a reason. Patience Green gave me my reason. She showed me that being a Black woman in a predominantly male dominated work environment was possible. She showed me how to carry myself in the workplace, but most importantly, she showed me that I can do anything that I put my mind to. And for that, I'm ever grateful. That was one of your former mentees in the testimonial that they put out on your website. Again, I encourage everybody to go check that out. I put that back up. The link's at the bottom, www.levelnext.org, so you can go check out the website. But those are the things that will make that difference for you in your life, right? Because that's affecting someone that's going to take the same knowledge that you shared with them and share it with somebody else and continue to grow. You talked about a legacy. That's your legacy. You're growing your legacy now, through this outreach, through the mentoring and other things that you actually do. So I wanted to touch on that. So again, um, what else would the floor is open? What else is it that you want to share with us about Level Next, as we're towards the end of the show?
Again, I just want to thank you, Marvin and ChopStation, for having me on just to share a little bit about myself, about my organization, and really just also igniting that fire and that passion back in me. Not that it was lost. We just kind of allow other things to get in the way of the passion and the purpose. But certainly looking forward to 2023, new programming. I certainly have some things in mind um, that we want to present to not just women, but to men as well, because I think it's invaluable that we pour back into whoever will be open to receive. Um, so I'm really excited about some of the programming and some of the opportunities that we'll have in the upcoming year. Also, to anyone who wishes to reach out, please, the website is there, levelnext.org. You can send an email. There is merchandise you can purchase as well. But again, just happy to share a little bit of my story, a little bit of myself. I haven't made all of the right choices. I haven't dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, but I think I've been able to learn from those mistakes, learn from those opportunities, also having mentors myself to help me to stay on the right path, and then sharing that information that I've been given and provided with those, to your point, that hopefully they will also share that with others as well.
So this is what I'm gonna need you to do. Anytime this is a Chop Station, we're doing this for. We're gonna do this for you. Anytime you have an event or you have something that's coming up, you make sure you get it over to me, and we'll make sure that in our show, the next show that we have after you get it, we'll make sure we push that for you, because this is something that empowerment is near and dear to my heart too. So we're going to make sure that we do that for you and push that for you. I'm going to go. I encourage everybody to go to levelnext.org. I'm going to have my shirt. So if you see me rocking the shirt up here, don't get jealous, because I told y'all to go get one. Okay, I'm going to get me a Level Next. It doesn't need male, female, doesn't matter. I'm gonna make sure I support, because I see the promise behind the organization and what you're trying to do. So again, I want to thank you for taking your time out and coming on this Thursday, early Friday. I know that you're ready for the weekend. I'm with you. So with that, I'm gonna close the show like we always do. Where's the camera? We love, we hang loose. It's from the heart. Chop Station. Peace.